My husband and I recently took a luxury trip to Thailand, Qatar, and Oman on points. The sticker price for this entire trip would have been many tens of thousands of dollars if paid for out of pocket, especially because we brought my parents along on part of the trip. But we booked this trip for a fraction of the cost by using a variety of different strategies. And in today's video, I'm going to break down how much each piece of the trip cost and how you can recreate a similar trip using points and miles and different credit card benefits. Okay, let's jump right in with how we booked our business class flights over to Thailand. For the first major leg of our trip, we flew from Los Angeles through Japan into Bangkok, Thailand using Cathay Pacific miles. We did this in Japan Airlines business class and it cost 115,000 points per person one way. This isn't necessarily the best way to do this. I just had to do this because there were a lot of Cathay Pacific miles that I had in my account from a previously canceled trip. But if you want to fly Japan Airlines over the Pacific into Thailand, here is how I would recommend searching for it. I would go into seats.aero and I would search from the USA over to Tokyo, pick the departure date you want, and I'm just gonna say as far out in the calendar as possible, plus or minus 28 days. Under operating carriers here, I would type in JL. I'm gonna search for at least 2 available seats and I want this to be in business or first class. And then when you click on search here, you're going to see a lot of different partners. Seats.aero technically doesn't support Cathay Pacific, but what we can do is find some possibly better deals here, where we could maybe book this through Qantas. It flies out of Seattle into Narita. Finnair has some options. Qantas has a few more options. Flying Blue has one option, though it is expensive, and then there are a few more that connect. So as we can see here, right now I can't recreate the exact same Los Angeles to Haneda availability that I saw last year, but we're gonna use San Francisco as an example. So with Qantas, you could book this from San Francisco over to Narita, and it would be 108,000 points per person one way, or Seattle to Narita would be 90,000. If we were to do this with Cathay Pacific, let's see if it prices out a little bit better. So here, we're gonna click on redeem flights from San Francisco, and then let's just search the first leg over to Narita, Japan first. We're gonna do one way in business class, and then this is going to be the 28th or 27th. Let's just say the 27th for now. Click done, and then click on redeem flights to see if we can find the same Japan Airlines flight that Seats.aero said was available on Qantas, but on Cathay. And here we see nothing available from San Francisco over to Tokyo on the 27th, maybe the 28th. And here we do see it's available on the 28th. It says from 115,000 Asia miles, but it's actually just 89,000 points here from San Francisco if you wanted to just stop in Japan and the flight there instead of continuing on to Thailand. That's actually even better than what Qantas was finding. So instead of paying 108,000 miles, you could book this one through Cathay for 89,000. Now, once you find something that goes through Japan, I would then see, are you able to connect on the second leg of the flight? So instead of San Francisco over to Japan, I'm going to search it all the way into Bangkok, Thailand for the same date that we found, which was the 28th. Then from here, I'm going to click on redeem flights, and there's no available flights on that day or any of the other ones. If it were available, it would price out at 115,000, whether it's going through Hong Kong or whether it's going through Narita or Haneda, or hopefully not doing a transfer from one of those airports to the other. But it looks like everything is currently sold out on award flights. When I booked my flight to Thailand, this was available, and so this is the 115,000 point price that we found. Alternatively, if you don't see it on Cathay, I would start with Seats.aero or also Rome, which directly supports Cathay Pacific and a few of these other airlines as well, and you can find some Japan Airlines availability and book it through either Finnair, Qantas, or some other airline. Quick note, if you do want to take advantage of any of the Cathay Pacific sweet spots, whether it's that one or any of the great ones into Hong Kong, one of the ways that I've been transferring points into Cathay has been with American Express, but they are reducing their transfer rates. So right now it is still a 1-to-1 ratio, but starting in March, Amex will transfer over to Cathay Pacific at a 1 to 0.8 ratio, so it's like you're losing 20%. This doesn't mean that I would speculatively transfer any points, just if you're planning on booking something like this, I would do it soon. The other way that I currently move points over to Cathay Pacific is also through Rove Miles, which is still a 1-to-1 transfer ratio, and it transfers instantly. So if you want 1,500 free Rove Miles, check out rovemiles.com/geobreeze, and that would be how I would recommend moving points over to Cathay Pacific going forward after March. While staying in Bangkok, we stayed at the Park Hyatt Bangkok and got a fantastic cents per point redemption. Here's how. So I would just log onto Hyatt.com and then search for Park Hyatt Bangkok. And then this works better if you're planning a little bit further out, so I'm going to use an example that's further out into the calendar. Choose however many nights you want, and then select use points, and then click find hotels. This is also a great great way to stretch out your points if you don't have a lot of points banked up with either Chase, Bilt, or Hyatt. Instead of booking a normal room for about 30,000 points, I would click on Suites, and then here is the Park Executive Suite, which normally you could just pay 58,000 points for, or I like to recommend the Upgrade Premium Suite rate. You will be paying a base rate. Here it's $388, and then 9,000 points to upgrade. Now, I know it doesn't seem as though it's that great of a deal because you still have to pay $388 per night, but let's look at the retail value of this room. So if we look at the suite rate for the Park Executive Suite and then click on More Rates, I like to always compare to the member rate instead of the advanced purchase rate because I am not going to advance purchase anything for $2,000. But the member rate is $2,251 for this particular night. So instead of paying $2,251 or 58,000 points, you could instead pay $388 plus 9,000 points to get the exact same room. Let's go back to the points rates again real quick just to take a look at that. It would also give you the option to do the Premium Suite points plus cash rate, which isn't nearly as good. That's $1,251 plus 29,000 points, which makes no sense when compared to you could instead pay $388 plus 9,000 points. And if you're doing that, then you are getting a rate of 20.7 cents per point, which is crazy high. And that's because the math here would be the retail value of $2,251 per night minus the cash that you have to pay out of pocket, which is $388 divided by 9,000 points per night. So if you only have a few Hyatt points and you want to stretch them out to as much as you can, it's very, very difficult to get more than 20 cents per point here. If you have a specific trip that you are looking to do on points, you can request a free personalized tutorial for how to book it. Just go to geobreezetravel.com/request and be sure to check out our free weekly newsletter every Monday to see if your request was the one that we picked and prepared. Up next, we're covering how we booked the Doha portion, including flying in Qatar Airways first-class cabins for way fewer points than you might expect. After our time in Thailand, the next phase of the trip was to fly Qatar first class through Doha into Oman. Everybody raves about Q Suites, but Qatar does operate a first class product as well. It's a lot more rare. It's honestly not that much better than Q Suites, but it gets you access into one of the best lounges in the world, which is the Al Safa Lounge. If you want to fly this route, there's limited options. You could either go from Doha into London, Paris, Bangkok, Perth, Australia, or Sydney, Australia. So I booked Bangkok, and this is actually a lot easier to find some award availability than what you might find. What I did here was I went to American Airlines, AA.com, and then I'm going to search for one-way redeeming miles from BKK to MCT. I'm just going to search for one person for now, and then departing pretty far out in the calendar, so I'm going to pick something in November 2026. From here, go ahead and click on search, and then under the calendar button, you're going to filter to first class only, and then one stop or fewer because we just want the one that goes into Oman. And so you can see there's quite a few different dates where it's 50,000 points per person one way, which is what I paid for this. Let's go ahead and click through some of these because we want to make sure we're finding the ones that are operated by Qatar. So I'm going to try November 12th, filter by first class. And here, there's only one seat left on this day, but this is the route that we would have done, which is Bangkok through Doha, operated by Qatar Airways, and then Doha into MCT, also operated by Qatar Airways. Now, the details here, you have a connection time of 13.5 hours. Most people try to minimize their connection time, but I would actually try to maximize your connection time in Doha because there's so much to do in that airport, in the Al Safa Lounge, and then depending on the time of day that you get there as well, you could also go out and explore Doha, maybe go to some night markets and something else there. So for example here, this would be a connection time of 20 hours and 25 minutes, which I think is fantastic. It's only 50,000 points plus about $65 in taxes and fees to fly this. So this is a really fantastic deal as well and a good sweet spot if you have American Airlines miles or city points, which would transfer over to American Airlines as well. For our Doha hotel, we used my husband's FHR credit on his Amex Platinum. And if you're trying to maximize your FHR credits, I recommend this website, Max My FHR. Just Google that, and then you'll be taken to this website. And then all you need to do is search for the city, click search, and then you'll see that the FHR hotels in Doha are surprisingly affordable. With the increased annual fee on the American Express Platinum cards, they also increased some of the benefits. So now your semi-annual hotel FHR credit includes a $300 credit instead of just a $200 credit. And there are a lot of hotels in Doha that are under $300 per night. Here we can see the Waldorf Astoria, the Plaza, the Ritz-Carlton Doha, another Waldorf Astoria, the Mandarin, St. Regis. All of these can be had for less than $300 for the base room, depending on the night that you book. What I would do is also just search on Fine Hotels and Resorts for the particular night that you're going to be transiting through Doha if you're going to do something like what I did, where we are flying through Doha into Oman. And so from here, on these dates that I picked, you can see that the Waldorf Astoria would be about $300 some. Mandarin is a bit more. This Maison Doha is a lot more. But what you can do is filter to just show the FHR hotels and then also sort by lowest price. Apparently their sorting algorithm does not work because this isn't sorted by price at all. But here is the one that we booked, which is Shark Village and Spa, which is a Ritz-Carlton hotel. On this night that I picked is $356. I think we paid $383. It does qualify for the FHR credit, so you only need to stay one night, whereas if it's under the hotel collection, you do need to stay 2 nights. And then with the FHR hotel credits, you still get complimentary breakfast with those, whereas with the hotel collection, I've been finding that usually it doesn't include breakfast anymore, but both would include the food and beverage credits and then the complimentary early check-in, late checkout. Those are going to be very useful for Doha because the flights come in and out at such odd times. And so this is a great way to use up those annual credits so that you don't end up spending $800 just to use a $300 credit. If you're thinking about transiting through Doha, definitely check out Max FHR. And also last week we made a video about this site, useyourcredits.com, where you can track all of the credits that you've already used versus which ones are still outstanding so that you can get the most out of your annual fees that you're paying for cards like the American Express Platinum. Now let's talk about how we booked the flights back. For the return portion of the trip, we crossed back through Doha, flew Q Suites into Korea, and then booked a flight deal straight back to Las Vegas in what I think is probably one of the most magical unicorn flight deals that I have ever found on points. On the way back from Oman to the United States, the first leg that we booked is going to be from Oman into Seoul, South Korea. And I booked this through American Airlines once again, where I would click one-way redeem miles from MCT over to Incheon. And I'm just gonna search for one person right here, but you can search for 2 if needed. And then I'm just gonna search a random date far out in the calendar. From here, I would click search and then click on the calendar button. Instead of show all classes, I would filter this to show only business and first class and only 1 stop or fewer so that we can get the Qatar ones. And so you can see there are a few different dates here where it's showing the 40,000 point saver space, which is what we're looking for. So let's say we wanted to fly this route on November 21st, which should be 40,000 AA miles plus about $72 in taxes and fees per person. Sort by business class, and we see there are a couple of options that have 2 seats left. And it's up to you if you want another one of these that has a long layover, like 20 hours in Doha to explore on the way back again, or if you would prefer something that has a shorter transit time. Like for example, this one only has a 3-hour transit through the Doha airport. So lots of different options here, and these are all operated by Qatar Airways and in the Q Suites. So if you want to see a comparison of Q Suites versus Qatar Airways first class, I have reviews on both of them on Instagram.com/GeoBreezeTravel. But this gets us into Seoul, South Korea, and we actually chose one of the ones that had a shorter layover on the way back so we could just transit through. So no hotel in Doha on the way back, just the one where we were going through Doha on the way into Oman. The last leg of our flight was the direct flight from Seoul back into Las Vegas on Korean Airlines business class. I consider it a minor miracle that this award space came up, because especially for 2 people, because I've rarely been able to recreate it. But here is the process if you want to try to set up some kind of notification for when this comes up. So I would go to seats.aero and click on explore and then go to Alaska Atmos rewards, which is how we booked this. I would show flights from Asia over to North America, and then under airlines, select Korean Air as your only option. Here, what you're gonna look for is something that's the direct Incheon to Las Vegas route. I see one for economy, but nothing nothing for business. Really, there's just nothing that shows direct Korean Air flights for pretty much any day. There's a lot of economy, they don't do premium economy, and pretty much nothing for business class. So to book this, I'm going to show you the example of if we were just searching for this in economy, then I'm going to show you how to do a notification if this is something you really want to fly. So what you will do is log into alaskaair.com. Let's say that you found something on seats.aero or got a notification. You're going to select one way from ICN to Las Vegas and use the date that seats.aero told you. So here it's going to be on September 21st. I'm just going to do one adult for now using points and then click search flights. And then here we see on September 29, this green saver space where it should be 37.5 thousand points plus $54 in taxes and fees. And it shows that there are 2 seats left, but that is with American Airlines. So we actually want the 21st if we want to do this specifically on Korean Air. These are operated by Alaska, and it's not even showing the Korean Airlines flight in here, even for economy, which is quite the bummer. This one is very, very difficult to find. So if you want to be notified with whenever it comes up, I would click on alerts and then create an alert here. What you can say is Korean Air flight. You can do your origin airport from ICN, and you can even just say destination airports, anything in the United States. Set up your date range or just say any date. Mileage program would be Alaska, Atmos. Cabins, business class. You can do a continuous alert so that it'll show you anytime something comes up, or you can just say that it expires once you've been notified. Put in your email, and then also with advanced filters, you can say that the operating airline that you want is going to be Korean Air specifically. You don't need to do a flight number, but from there, then you just say create alert, and seats.aero will email you whenever something shows up, matching all of these filters. It is very rare that something shows up like this, and so something that we remind people all the time with points and miles is the strategy for the game is not knowing some secret website to search, because if you follow our tutorials, you probably know about all the websites already. The key here is to set up notifications and to continuously check a little bit every day, because sometimes new deals come up and sometimes deals go away. If you're not seeing anything on this Alaska Airlines Korean Air flight today as you're checking, just like I'm not seeing anything, searching for another 4 hours, not gonna help. The key is just to consistently check every day, and if you don't want to be the one who's consistently checking for good deals every day, feel free to set up a call with my team. The intro call is free at geobreezetravel.com/intro call. We can talk through what it is you're trying to book and then see if it's something that we might be able to help you with. Our last walkthrough covers the total cost of the trip in points and money, and how much value we got out of our points to save the tens of thousands of dollars off of the sticker price of this trip. And if you are interested in leveling up your points and miles game and maximizing your credit card benefits too, we have a couple of options for you. The first one is the GeoBreeze Travel Patreon, which you can join starting at just $5 per month through patreon.com/geobreezetravel. Every month, we prepare personalized step-by-step tutorials for the routes that our members request. We also provide open forum group coaching where you can ask any questions that you have about points, miles, and credit cards in general. And if you're looking to get even more free travel with your points, and you're a business owner or high cash flow professional who spends more than $100,000 per year on your expenses, check out our one-on-one client service. We typically save our clients more than $30,000 in travel in the first 6 to 12 months of working with our team. If that sounds like something that you would be interested in, book a free intro chat with us at geobreezetravel.com/intro call to learn more. Okay, let's walk through the total cost of the trip. All right, now let's put all of this together and see how much I spent in points, how much I spent in cash, and the value that we got out of this. So starting out chronologically, we flew from Las Vegas over to Los Angeles in United Economy for our positioning flights. For this one, we just used up our United Travel Bank credits, which you can get from the Amex Platinum. If you are not sure how to do that, check out our video from last week where we have a tutorial on how to maximize your different credits. For that one, the 2 tickets would have been $857 total. We paid $457 out of that and got $400 in statement credits. That seems pretty steep for a United flight from Las Vegas to Los Angeles in economy, but it did have to be on a specific date. I was booking this last minute because I waited until the credits reset, and there was a specific nonstop flight we wanted at night in order to do this. So it was a little bit pricier than what we would have paid otherwise, but we did get to use up those travel bank credits right away. In Los Angeles, I like trying to use up my free night certificate certificates as soon as possible, even if it's not maximum value these days, just so that it's out of sight, out of mind, doesn't take up any more decision fatigue or brain space. So we booked the Los Angeles Airport Marriott Hotel with my 35K free night certificate. Probably would have been about $164 if paid retail value. And so that's what I'm listing for the sticker price here. For Los Angeles through Haneda into Bangkok with JAL business class, I booked 2 tickets in business class by transferring Amex over to Cathay Pacific. It was 115,000 points per person one way, so I paid a total of 230,000 points plus $440 in taxes and fees. Retail value for those 2 flights, according to Google Flights, would have been about $8,800, and so my cents per point on that was about 3.6 cents per point. With our Bangkok hotels, this is where we stayed at the Park Hyatt Bangkok in the Park Executive Suite and got a really high cents per point. But also, my parents are hanging out in the Philippines for a few months, so they came over and joined us in Thailand, and my aunt and uncle also came from the Philippines to join us in Thailand. And so we covered their hotels as well. Justin and I stayed for 3 nights, and then my parents and my aunt and uncle, we got each of those couples their own room. They stayed for 4 nights, and overall, for the total amount of points spent for all of those, we spent about 99,000 points across the 3 rooms for the total combined 11 nights. And then total cash out of pocket was about $4,000 for all of those room nights. The sticker price retail value for all of those nights would have been very high, a total of about $18,000. And for each of those, we got about 14.5 cents per point, which is really driving up our metrics for how much value we got out of our points for this trip. From Bangkok through Doha into Muscat, we flew Qatar Airways first class using American Airlines miles. For 2 tickets in first class, I paid 100,000 points plus $126 in taxes and fees. Retail value for the 2 tickets would have been about $5,600, and so my cents per point there is about 5.6. For our one night in Doha, we used my husband's Amex FHR credit to stay at Shark Village Resort and Spa. Our out-of-pocket here was only $83 because the total retail value was $383 and we got a $300 statement credit back. While staying in Oman, we used a couple of Category 1 through 4 free night certificates at the Grand Hyatt Muscat. I got one of those just from having the World of Hyatt personal card, and another one, I think I used my Milestone Rewards credit at 40 Elite Nights last year to get another credit. And so the retail value for those would have been a total of $326. On the way back from Oman, we flew Qatar Airways once again into Korea with American Airlines miles. I spent about 80,000 points and $126 in taxes and fees. Sticker price would have been about $7,200, so that's 8.9 cents per point, which is interesting that my cents per point is so much higher on the business class versus the first class redemption, just because of how the retail values shook out for those routes on those dates. For our one night in Korea, we stayed at the Grand Hyatt Incheon. I used another Category 1 through 4 free night certificate because I think you get another one once you've spent $15,000 on the card in a calendar year, and the retail value on that hotel is $146. And then from Incheon back to Las Vegas, we flew Korean Air business class, used Alaska miles to book 2 tickets. I actually booked this back when there was that loophole to move Amex points through Hawaiian into Alaska. Paid 150,000 miles plus $93 for 2 tickets. Retail value for 2 tickets would have been about $5,500. So I got about 3.5 cents per point on that as well. So all in all, I spent about 659,000 points for all of these different hotel nights and all of these different flight segments. Total cash out of pocket, not free, as people make it seem like on the internet. Our out of pocket was about $5,300. Statement credits, $700 between the United Travel Bank credits and my husband's FHR credits. Total sticker price for everything, $47,576, and a lot of that is because we covered 3 different hotel rooms in the Park Hyatt Bangkok for multiple nights because my parents were visiting and also my aunt and uncle were visiting. So we covered all of those room nights, and that comes out to a total cents per point redemption average. The total ratio of cash paid divided by retail value is just over 11%. That's about where I like to keep it because that way we're not optimizing for let's make this trip as free as possible. Let's set our budget, which was about $5,000 here, see if we can stretch it out to about 10 times as much value, which we were able to do. These metrics don't include other pieces like, for example, I had originally booked a flight from Japan back to Seattle as our return trip. Those points are now sitting in Qantas because I found this unicorn flight with Korean Air business class. So it doesn't count all of the different cancellation fees. And what you don't tend to see that's going on behind the scenes is I redo these trips so often. So I have a bunch of points that are stuck in different accounts. And that just happens as you book more and more trips, is you're kind of juggling a lot of different pieces, but that's all a fun part of the puzzle. I hope you found these tutorials useful. Also, let me know in the comments what other types of content you would like to see. Suggestions for future topics are always welcome. And in the meantime, if you enjoyed this tutorial, I think you'll enjoy this video next.